Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
Vegas shooter was taking this powerful medication that could explain everything. Stephen Craig Paddock was the 64-year-old white male from Mesquite, Nevada who killed 59 people and injured over 525 others. He was worth $2 million, retired, had his pilot's license, and owned homes in 4 different states. Paddock's father was once on the FBI's most wanted list for escaping prison. His brother, Eric, says Stephen was a retired multi-millionaire. The Islamic State has taken credit for the shooting. Also, nearly 24 rifles were found in Paddock's hotel room. Bomb-making materials were found in Paddock's car, similar to those used during the OKC bombing. His girlfriend was met by federal officials last night when she landed at LAX after being declared a person of interest. Now, it has just been learned that Paddock was taking powerful anti-anxiety meds, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Records from the Nevada Prescription Monitoring Program obtained Tuesday show Paddock was prescribed 50 10-milligram diazepam tablets by Henderson physician Dr. Stephen Winkler on June 21. A woman who answered the phone at Winkler's office would not make him available to answer questions and would neither confirm nor deny that Paddock was ever a patient. Paddock purchased the drug, its brand name is Valium, without insurance at a Walgreens store in Reno on the same day it was prescribed. He was supposed to take 1 pill a day. Here's the thing about the drug. If somebody has an underlying aggression problem and you sedate them with that drug, they can become aggressive, said Dr. Mel Pohl, Chief Medical Officer of the Las Vegas Recovery Center. It can disinhibit an underlying emotional state. It is much like what happens when you give alcohol to some people, they become aggressive instead of going to sleep. Mix it with alcohol, and it's even worse. Stay tuned for more information about Paddock as it breaks. When we know, you'll know. Media says Pearson called Trump a moron, so Trump made them regret it seconds ago. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reportedly called Donald Trump, the President of the United States and most powerful man on the planet, a moron. That's what the media has people believing that this morning. Rex knows he works for Trump, right? Maybe he doesn't get it. Tillerson then almost resigned, per the New York Post. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson referred to President Trump as a moron after a July 20 meeting at the Pentagon, and was on the verge of resigning amid clashes with the administration, according to a report on Wednesday. What's crazier is that Vice President Mike Pence intervened, convincing Rex to remain in his position through the end of the year. Vice President Mike Pence managed to persuade Tillerson, who is 4th in line to the presidency, to remain in the job at least until the end of the year, officials told NBC News. Why did all this happen? Because Tillerson was unhappy about 45 giving a politicized speech to the Boy Scouts of America, an organization he ran for 2 years. Tillerson decided to remain Sec State after speaking with Generals Mattis and Kelly, who apparently begged him to stay. There's just one major problem. Trump blew the story up just now, saying the report is BS. From the Hill. President Trump slammed NBC News on Wednesday after the outlet reported that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson referred to the president as a moron. And there you go. Trump foils the lying fake news media once again. Share this so that Americans know that the original story is total fake news. Reporter asked Steve Scalise if he supports gun rights. What he said next left her jaw hanging. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise returned to Congress this week after being shot by a deranged gunman targeting Republican lawmakers earlier this year. Scalise was seriously injured with life-threatening injuries and nearly died. Watch what he said to the reporter. Despite his horrible ordeal, He is still committed to protecting second rights, as he confirmed in an interview with Fox News on Tuesday. Interviewer Martha McCallum asked Scholars if his thoughts on the Second Amendment have changed after his own experience with gun violence, and after the Las Vegas attack that killed 59 people. Scholars' reply was succinct. "I think it's fortified it. Boom. Done. Cue the leftists losing their minds. Our right to bear arms is in the Constitution. We can and should think of ways to prevent further atrocities like Las Vegas, but we must be true to our national principles protecting gun ownership." He continued, lambasting politicians and celebrities who have used this tragedy to advance their agendas. "Because first of all you've got to recognize that when there's a tragedy like this, the first thing we should be thinking about is praying for the people who are injured and doing whatever we can to help them, to help law enforcement. We shouldn't first be thinking of promoting our political agenda." Steve Scalise, who was brutally attacked and in the hospital for months due to gun violence, can ask people to keep a cool head and lay off the politics after this national tragedy. He is an example to us all. Check out his awesome interview here, and share it out. HT The Hill. Micro drops epic truth bomb after Vegas massacre, all conservatives are cheering. Former Dirty Jobs host Micro is despised by the left because he's a conservative on television. That's pretty much the only reason. Otherwise, there's little to no reason to disagree with what Roe says about hard work and self-reliance. Check out Roe's response to a Las Vegas woman who wondered if he could share a comforting word, because it would go a long way. Off the wall. "Mike, I live in Las Vegas, and I've seen you here often. Once, in the lobby at Mandalay Bay. We're all shattered here, obviously. A comforting word from you would go a long way." Molly Carr. Mike's response. "Hi Molly. I'm not surprised you saw me at the Mandalay. I cleaned their Shark Tank back in 2006, and I've stayed there at least 30 times since. Maybe that's why my initial thoughts about this latest tragedy were so random and strange. Even before I imagined myself in the thick of the chaos, as I always do, and even before I thanked God that I wasn't, as I don't do enough, I found myself wondering if I had used the same elevator as the killer. Isn't that odd? As people were being murdered in the most cowardly way imaginable, by a creature I can barely think of as human, I lay in my bed at home, stunned and horrified, wondering if I had stood in the same box and pushed the same buttons as the man now destroying countless lives and families. Since I've ridden all the elevators at Mandalay, I determined that the answer was yes. I then wondered if the killer and I had shared the same bar stool in the lobby? Had we swam in the same pool, or chatted up the same bellman, or played a hand of blackjack at the same table? Had we slept in the same bed? It's not a stretch. I've stayed on the 32nd floor of Mandalay before. I remember looking down at the sprawling, empty space 300 feet below my window, the same sprawling space that was recently filled with thousands of people having a good time, right up until they weren't, courtesy of a monster. Yesterday, I was struck by how unknowingly we rub elbows with evil. How we share the highways and byways with hollowed-out men and craven women whose capacity for wickedness knows no bounds. It would be convenient if such people all looked the same, but alas, they don't. They look just like us. And so we dine with them in restaurants, unknowingly. We walk by them in shopping malls, sit next to them in theaters, and maybe even hold the door for them as they smile and nod in thanks. I'm sorry, Molly. I know these are not comforting words. The world is as uncertain as the people in it, and we share this rock with some very uncertain folks. But we also share it with living proof that hope will never die. Take comfort in men who threw themselves over other people's children. They are no less real than the killer, and they are still with us. Take comfort in the woman who loaded wounded strangers into her car and drove them out of harm's way. Take comfort in the hundreds of first responders who risk their lives every day, and the hundreds of anonymous citizens who stood in line to give their blood. Take comfort in the fact all good people are shattered, and that you are not alone. There are no words, Molly, at least in my vocabulary, to bring you the comfort you seek. But there are people among us who restore my faith in the species, even as others seek to rob me of it. I can introduce you to those people. That's what I've tried to do with my little slice of cyberspace, and that's what I can do today. The same thing I do every Tuesday. This is Mama Ginger. Mama and her fellow soup ladies spend their lives waiting for disaster and tragedy to strike. When the unthinkable happens, they drive to the scene with a trailer filled with homemade soup, and feed the first responders. It sounds like a small thing. It isn't. When it comes to kindness, there are no small things. And when it comes to keeping hope alive, our first responders are the best example there is. This is the woman who takes care of them. In fact, she's on her way to your city right now. Take comfort in her. Boom. Do you agree with what Ro has to say? Comment yes or no, then share. Donate to the GoFundMe campaign at this link. HTYC